is like usually super awkward.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I have so much imposter syndrome. I feel like they're gonna judge everything I do with my face and everything I say.
Literally, right? So what I've experienced since joining this company, and like this is my official onboarding week, has been completely different than anything else that I've really experienced before. And I think it's because I have a personal brand. It's kind of weird.
They all know you and they reference like your LinkedIn post or something.
So they haven't like referenced my LinkedIn post or anything, but like I've been on calls where sort of my reputation precedes me in a good way, right? Where like they've watched declassified content before, or they were sent it by their manager or whatever it may be, um, which has been really interesting because again, my only experience being hired before was from being an entry level where like again nobody knows who you are essentially, so you're like going into the conversation, you kind of trying to beef yourself up or like hype yourself up right in front of this person on the other end, and neither of you know who each other are. But this has been just the complete opposite experience. I think my whole sort of hiring to where I am at right now with like onboarding with this company, I think having a personal brand has allowed that experience to be so much better than if I didn't have a personal brand.
Like for example, like what happened? Did they like say, "Oh, I know you," so like automatically they feel like you're part of the circle instead of like an outsider? Or like how does that play out?
Yeah, like I feel like again, maybe this is like woo woo, right? And the team's just done an amazing job of like onboarding me, which if that's what they are trying to do, like they're doing a great job at it, right? But like every conversation that I've had so far is like, oh, I've seen the stuff that you're doing. I'm so excited to see how you can bring that to this company social or whatever it may be. And I'm like, oh, this is really dope because it's not. I've always thought that onboarding is like this monotonous process, right? Of like, okay, these are the tech stack that we use. Hi, my name is this. This is what I do. Yada yada yada. But like every call that I've been on, because I'm running through like meeting the team and everything like that right now, has been super exciting. They're like, this is the stuff that I've seen from your page. This seems really dope. Excited to see what you can do here. And again, my reputation has kind of preceded me, right? And I've like because of like the pieces of work that I have, they have an understanding of what I've done, what I can do, and everything like that, which has been again really dope to be on that side of the table, so to say.
That's so awesome. In terms of like building a personal brand, for those listening who want to like build a personal brand to have the same experience you have, what would you recommend them to do?
I think like right now, right, like the job market is tough if we're just being honest, right? Because of everything happening in AI, hiring freezes, budgets, whatever you want to kind of dwindle it down into, right? I think the main reason that I got this job is because my personal brand kept my name in front of the person who was kind of like pushing my resume past the sort of computer, where again they made this role specifically for me once the team caught wind that I was applying for a job at the company. And I think if I'm not constantly creating content, if my name is not constantly in the back of that person's head, no one cares when I try to apply to this job of Justin Wynn is just another name on a resume that runs through the ATS system. So if I were you out there who's trying to find a job, trying to build a personal brand, whatever it may be, like build that personal brand around building in public. Now it doesn't have to be super, super transparent, right? Like where you're showing all your numbers or anything like that, but build a project. Try to show people rather than just telling people that you're good at something. And I think that's the biggest differentiator, so that when you do get hired or when you do go into that interview, you've got proof of work, right? And if you've got like you've always been in that 9 to 5, right? Use LinkedIn to brag, right? Take pictures, take videos, whatever it may be. Use your profile and that content on your profile as sort of this place where I can go to if I'm trying to hire you. I know exactly what you've done. I know exactly what you can do. And then if I share this with my colleague who's the hiring manager for this role, they're like, oh my God, Grace, this is amazing that you've done XYZ. Like, this is so great. Like, we want to bring you on the team to do what you've done here, but at this new company. And I think a lot of people miss that, and they just think that their resume is gonna like tell everything. But visual stuff is so much more impactful in my opinion than like a boring black and white resume. And there's not much that you can do to change that black and whiteness of it because right, you have to beat the ATS system. And I think that personal brand allows you to show a little bit more of like what you can do.
Yeah, because ultimately it's humans making a decision and they remember you if they see you on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Twitter, you're top of mind, you stand out in front of like 69,000 applicants. Yeah.
No,
So
exactly.
for those who say social media is a waste of time or like I don't care about social media, they're not going to make it, in my opinion. At least if you want to, they're gonna not going to make it in tech, at least. Just because the job market's so competitive right now and you need to stand out. Otherwise, there's just like so many junior roles that just so much competition because everyone wants to work. Well, not everyone, but a lot of jobs in tech are very desirable. But I'm also curious, like, what kind of job? Like, what is your job title? What are you doing on the job? How is your onboarding week like?
Yeah. So like my job title is like senior growth marketer, which is dope that I'm a senior now, right? Which is pretty cool to see. And basically, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what like the role is going to sort of entail, but it's a lot of organic social content as well as like capturing content from events and things of that nature. So like so far, I've been traveling to a lot of college campuses, creating content, like working with talent that we've contracted out and things like that, which has been pretty dope. And I'm excited to see. We're still running this campaign for I believe like the next 3 or 4 weeks. I'm on it for the next week and a half until I head out for my honeymoon, and so I'm excited to see when I come back what sort of projects, campaigns, and everything that I'll be working on. Like there's some talk about community stuff, which I'll definitely ask you questions around, right? Because you're the queen of community, but all these different sort of things that kind of revolve around college campuses, college students, career, and things like that. So perfect role for me. I think I know you want to kind of talk about like dream jobs and everything like that. And I've always told myself that I would never get a job unless it seemed like the perfect one for me. And this one, I don't think any job is perfect, but this is pretty much as close as you could get in terms of being able to still build my own thing, but work in a job that allows me to learn more about what I want to build anyway, too.
Yeah, that's so awesome. What did you guys do on your onboarding week? Was it just like a lot of like IT seminars, HR policies, laptops,
So, oh my God,
one-on-ones with your team?
I had a crazy onboarding experience. So my first like official day, because I started a little bit earlier for some of the content stuff. Um, During my like onboarding IT meeting, my laptop literally just starts uh updating itself. And I'm like, what is going on? Thankfully, like I have really fast Wi-Fi. So we ran through it in like 5, 10 minutes or whatever. But my laptop, I clicked something because I was trying to share my screen. It like reset Zoom. And then my Mac started updating. And I was like, what is going on? And thankfully I had already had Slack. So I messaged the guy. I was like, yo, I think my laptop is updating. So everything was chill. But yeah, like classic IT stuff. I think what was really dope is my manager, she created like this whole onboarding doc. So I'm like slowly running through all of that right now. Like, okay, make sure you have access to this, blah, 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 blah. Manager's been super accessible as well, which is dope. And then right now, again, my schedule is kind of crazy because of all of this on campus activation things that we're doing. But I'm doing or I've done like a lot of one-on-one meetings with sort of my team and people who are adjacent to my team to kind of get a lay of the land of what the marketing team is about, how they do things like that. So I've probably jumped on 4 or 5 meetings just this morning alone in terms of like just one-on-ones because I have to squeeze everything in today because next week like I'm traveling a ton too for these campus things. So it's been hectic, but great at the same time because I actually have like a roadmap of like what I need to do during onboarding. And this is my first ever like onboard into a quote unquote big boy job, right? So it's been cool to see jotting down notes. Like I've got my own notes of like how the checks and balances of things that they've done. And so now I realize whenever people say, yo, declassified onboarding is kind of trash, I get it because this has been such a better experience than what I've definitely done from like a building and onboarding experience for declassified.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I think feel like one-on-ones is such a good life hack for those, anyone like starting a new job, one-on-ones, building relationships with everyone on your team, but also like everyone on outside of your team too. But prioritizing your team first is a good way to just like get yourself out there, because ultimately the way you rise up in a corporate ladder is relationships and being able to raise up the right people, make impact. Most importantly, raise up people and make your impact loud. At least in my experience.
For
So.
sure. Yeah. And again, like the reason that I say this is because, or the reason I want to talk about this is because I feel like I've been seeing a lot of content creators getting hired into companies. And I think one of the reasons for that is because, again, they have a work, like a visible work experience. It's not just on a piece of paper, right? And so if you're thinking about, let's just say college student, right? If you're 21 years old, about to graduate college with a marketing degree, even if you've got internships, if you don't have anything to show for that marketing degree, compare yourself to the other 21-year-old that has 10,000 followers, so nothing crazy, but they've been creating content for the past 3 years and has like a personal brand within whatever space it may be. More than likely, at least from my lens, I'm going to hire the person with 10K followers for that marketing role because that person has shown me that he or she can actually do something. And I think you're starting to see that right now, specifically in the marketing space, right? Where a lot of content creators are getting hired on versus quote unquote like social media managers and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, I also think social media, it depends on the role. Like marketing, obviously, like I feel like having good following demonstrates you're good at marketing, good building an audience. But if you want to work for a company like the government or like Apple, or like military stuff, then social media is actually a red flag. At least that's what I heard from my friends, because they expect you to kind of be very NDA. The companies are very secretive. They don't want you to accidentally leak any of the secrets. They see you as a liability. So I feel like it just depends on what kind of industry. If you want to work at Apple, probably, I don't think I'll ever get a job at Apple. I don't think I'll even get hired. But like, I have a lot of friends who work at Apple, and they tell me that like, I just can't talk about anything, and I can't post anything on social media. They're gonna yell at me and fire me and stuff.
Yeah, I think some companies are more strict than others. But I also would say like you don't have to be, when I say personal brand, I don't think you have to be like you or I, right? In terms of the role that you're looking for. Like if you're a software engineer or even someone like Zach, right? For instance, in that in data, if he wasn't a great writer, that content probably doesn't perform as well. But I would argue if you're just like doing data analysis on your content, like that's extremely important to see as a recruiter or like someone who's joining a team in like the data space, because like, okay, this guy not only knows what he can do or what he or she can do, but he can articulate it too. Right. And I think that's so important in this world right now. And again, in a space where every single job opening has like hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of applicants, like looking through LinkedIn and stuff where you can see how many people have applied to a job, it's like kind of daunting sometimes. I think whatever you can do to stand out is so important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Because they'll stand out by like going to in-person events, creating content, engaging in the community. I've also heard a hack where like you can look at the hiring manager of the role and like look at the groups they're in, join the groups, and post in those groups. And to
Yeah.
well, like likelihood, if you're not connected with them, yeah, just like post in those groups, post on LinkedIn, and just put yourself out there. Because like in marketing, you need to see something average of 7 times to buy it. So like just show up. And I noticed this myself is like whenever I'm more active in updating my Instagram stories, I get way more opportunities than when I get overwhelmed by Instagram stories too, and like don't update for a couple of days.
Yeah. No,
So
it's
you gotta be top of mind.
yeah, exactly. I think that's the best thing there, right? Be top of mind for whatever it is. It could be brand deals, right?
Mhm.
It could be jobs, whatever it may be. But if you can find a way to keep your brand in the back of that decision maker's brain, then you just become super important, I would say, whenever that person is looking to do something in the space that you have built that brand in. So for me, that's been great to witness on like the job front. Like these intro calls have been a lot less awkward than I thought that they were going to be. And so it's been pretty dope to see.
What are the biggest mistakes you think someone can make in trying to build their personal brand?
I think you have to be wary of your internet what is it? Not history, but your internet like footprint, right? Because like for instance, right, to your point, someone like yourself probably doesn't get hired by Lockheed Martin in defense, right? Because you post way too much, you're very open, which is okay, right? But you just have to know where you kind of want to go and like build that persona to match that brand. Like for me, for instance, I have a very specific sort of personal brand, right? That connection between higher ed, career, college students. There's people that play in the college space, there's some people that play in the higher ed space, but there's not many people that play in that sort of Venn diagram center spot where I live in. And because of that, right, I think we talked about this on the last episode, like becoming a one of one means that you just end up defaulting to becoming the best in that space. And when you're looking at building your personal brand, I think the worst thing that you can do is try to just be good at a very broad niche because your competition is so high. And it seems counter like productive to niche down, but I'm going to say this like long tail, I feel like it's super beneficial to niche down. It might not feel like it at the beginning, but over the course of 1, 2, 5, 10 years, I think becoming a specialist
Hmm.
is very important.
Interesting. How are you thinking about niching down?
Um, I mean, I think I've done it from a personal brand standpoint, right? Like that sort of college career um, standpoint. And I think I've gotten to a point where I've got the reputation in that space clearly, like with kind of the job that I've gotten and everything like that. And now for me, it's about actually broadening it. So the way that I look at the best way to build personal brand is niche down, build your brand as a best in certain space, and then that gives you authority to kind of level up into broader spaces. So that's where I think this podcast kind of comes into play, right? So this combines my experience of understanding the creator economy um, through college students and things of that nature, but it expands it wider into the whole of creator economy by talking about just like how creators can make more money essentially, right? So that's how I'm sort of seeing it, and this is the next niche that I kind of want to tackle from a personal brand standpoint.
Hmm. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I guess as for me, like I've been just making content for the past 10 years and found a way to make money. And I talk about different ways you can make money. And I still continue. I feel like I kind of like started on social media as like an artist and then a runner and then a design career person and then trying to do more creator economy stuff like marketing because that's what I've been more interested in lately too. So I feel like my niche has like widened a lot too. I haven't like specialized. I used to specialize. Well, I never really specialized in anything because when I was doing running, I was doing like vegan food and stuff like lifestyle stuff. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, but like you could look at it as like vegan runner, right? Like during that time, there's probably not many people that were
Yeah.
creating that type of content, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, no, that I mean that's how I view it. Is just niche down and then expand once you've got the authority in that specific space.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'd be interested, like for from your standpoint, do you like niching down or do you like to just go more broad from the beginning?
More broad. Well, actually, from the beginning, no one knows who you are. No one cares about you, and you need to be like an expert and being well known to like build credibility. So at least like I was just kind of like I don't know. I was just like kind of stuck at like 10K followers when I was just like doing art and running content, and I took a break for like 5 years because of school and stuff, and then I really blew up to like over 100K people when I was talking about community, careers, how to get a job. Wow, so sexy. So I know, according to LinkedIn. So like I grew the most by doing that, but then I realized like when I decided not to talk much about how to get a job anymore, a lot of people still stuck around with me. I noticed like the people who want to get a job are probably like my age, like want to travel, want to learn social media, want to become a content creator, like art, like fitness, healthy living. So I feel like the audience who followed me for my design career content aged with me, and they start to feel like, oh, okay, earlier in my career I was trying to get a job, now I want to explore hobbies outside of jobs. Like now they're like in their late 20s. They want to just kind of like grow along with me. I also have a lot of people who follow me from Tumblr who also like stay in touch. They reply to my Instagram stories a lot. Like a good number, I can name like 20 of them who still do that. So like super fans from Tumblr. So like I pivoted niches for like 5 times from that. Like you get super fans, but initial growth, I do notice that I grow the fastest when I like talk about one topic. So I'm still figuring it out myself. I personally use social media to make friends, and I don't really care about pleasing everyone. So thank you all for sticking along with the journey. Like, yeah, because like sometimes I was still like, admittedly, I'll admit this on the podcast, is I'll still talk about design career stuff because if I feel like I didn't like have a rush of followers in a while, I need that dopamine rush. It was like a little drug. I was just like, here's 10 ways to get a job. You're like, okay, 1,000 followers, I'm good.
I love
I
it.
wash my hands afterwards.
What else did you want to talk about? I know you had a few other topics that you wanted
Yeah.
to talk about.
So I know you just landed a job that fits well for you. I actually just hosted a LinkedIn Live yesterday about how dream jobs are a scam. How do you feel about that tagline?
Interesting. Explain a little bit more. Why do you feel that?
So I feel like kind of like in corporate America, they and even in school, at least my upbringing, you're always told to like work hard, study hard, get good grades, get to a good school, get a good job, climb the corporate ladder, be a cog in the machine. Don't ask questions. Do what you're told. Be a cog in the machine. Um, and I feel like a lot of people think the American dream is just to like, or even just like success in society in general, at least in America, is to work a good job, own a house and have a family and just like live a chill life, and but stay the same job for like 40 years and associate your identity with your job title. And I feel like it's like kind of capitalist brainwashing, is like they don't want you to think beyond being an employee. They want to keep you poor so that the rich can get richer. And that's why they don't teach you personal finance or taxes in school. They teach you fucking trigonometry instead. Um, so like that's why I think it's a scam. Like they kind of sell the idea that you have to be complacent, you have to be a cog in the machine, and they see it as like, oh, it's so sexy to be a cog in the machine. They kind of sell it that. At least like the higher ups, it's corporate term, say that. But after hosting a LinkedIn Live yesterday with my friend Calvin, like I think there's like two ways of looking at this. Like somebody, it's like totally okay if someone really likes their job. I'm really happy for them. Like some people have found the job they love. They wake up every day excited to work. They love the people they're working with. They love the problem they're solving. They're having happy every day, which is like amazing. I personally never found that. So that's why that's like my perspective in life. And Calvin's mentioned something to me that like you could have like a perfect job, but you know, they could lay you off anytime, get fired anytime. Like you never know, like you could lose it all. So it is kind of a scam because some people, even in the chat yesterday, had some experiences where they were laid off, had their offer rescinded for whatever reason that they weren't given feedback for. So it definitely it sucks. Like I understand why they feel that way too. So I feel like a dream job could contribute to like a dream. I don't even know what is a dream anyways, but like your ideal lifestyle. But like you could also be prepared to lose it all because it's outside of your control.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think dream jobs are a scam. So my perspective on this is more of I think you should figure out your lifestyle that you want to live and then work backwards rather than thinking that this job is going to allow you to achieve your dreams. And I think a lot of people think that these jobs are going to allow them to achieve their dreams. And that dream doesn't necessarily have to be career related, right? It could be starting a family. It could be becoming a millionaire, right? All these different sort of things. And I think most people, when you genuinely ask them what they want in life, I don't think people have an answer. And I think that's the bigger issue is a lot of people that I talk to, especially like students and stuff, right? They think that this job is going to tell them exactly what to do later on in life, right? It's going to give them enough money to start a family, and then that's going to be the answer. Or it's going to give them enough money to travel, and then that's going to be the answer. And I think the big issue, at least that I see, is when you don't know things, that's okay. But the issue is most people don't try and figure out what they don't know. And they're just expecting that this thing is going to give them some awakening moment that shows them. And I think what a lot of people think that thing is that job, right? It's going to give me more money. That's going to provide me this lifestyle. But if you don't know the lifestyle that you want to live, how do you know the best way to get there? And that's always been my thing, is figure out how you want to live, what your lifestyle looks like, and then work backwards. And then I think that's when you start to get a dream job, or an understanding what a dream job is. Because for me, a dream job is something that allows you to achieve those sort of goals that you set. But you can't achieve those goals that you set unless you set them. And I don't think a lot of people actually set them.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I feel like also people work 40 hours a week at a job. That's a long time of your life. Might as well enjoy it. And I don't think it's like a bad thing to really enjoy what you're doing. And I think everyone should enjoy what they're doing. Like, if you're not enjoying your life, then what are you doing? But because like I don't know, like I feel like a lot of people kind of want to chase what pays the most, but sometimes what pays the most is what they don't enjoy the most. And like time is the only resource you can't get back. You can always make more money, but you can't get your time back. And I don't think it's like a bad thing to chase your dream job if it makes you happy. And I feel like everyone should be working their dream job. Because like I feel like having a discussion with you and having a LinkedIn Live changed my perspective. Because I really had one job in my life. I had mostly a positive experience, but some things about like politics kind of like ruffled my feathers, or just like it seemed like really weird, and I feel like I had to wash my hands and stuff. So yeah, I'm just coming from like that very ignorant perspective, and just having one job and growing up in just like the tech bubble. So yeah, that's why.
No, I get it. I think it was really like interesting for me too, because I posted it up about it on my like LinkedIn, my Instagram stories, and people are reaching out to me saying like, congrats, swiping up my story saying, oh my God, this is great. But I also had a few messages of like, yo, this actually inspired me to go and get a job, like from creators and stuff. Because I feel like a lot of people are scared to change their brand, or feel some sort of like shame, so to say, right? Of like, oh, I try to make it on my own, but like it's not turning out the way that I wanted it to go. And so like it's a step down to go and find a job. And I just want to tell people like that's not necessarily the case, right? Like, yes, this job is great for me. And the reason that I'm taking it is because I think it's a great opportunity, both at where that company that I'm joining is at, as well as the role that I'm going to be working on. But like, I think most people overthink what people think about them. Like, you go and get a job, no one cares. No one actually cares. No one's really judging you. Maybe your family might, but like the general public, no one cares, right? And I think if you can pay the bills and you can put food on the table, whatever it may be, that's priority number one. Like, your internet clout should not be priority number one of like what people think about you because you're taking a quote unquote lesser job or whatever. So I thought that was really interesting from, again, people who have built personal brands out there and were hitting me up and being like, yo, like, this is crazy that you got a job. Like, how does this feel? And I'm like, it does feel crazy, but again, it's allowing me to achieve the goals that I want to do in life. And it's another step that I have kind of formulated in the path that I want to get to for the life that I want to live. And again, I don't care what other people think because I know that this step will allow me to achieve what I want to do later in life. And so again, that's just the message I want to say. That was really interesting to see, because I would have thought some people would be like, oh, like, how's Declassified doing? Like, is like, why are you getting a job? And like kind of hit down on me like getting a job, right? Didn't get any of those messages. Everything was in full support, or it was like, yo, I was actually thinking about applying to jobs too. And I'm talking like creators that were saying this to me. And so it was really cool to see, because it was not what I was expecting.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like a job is not a step down because, um, I know on the internet I could sound like fuck corporate and like kind of thing, but after hearing more perspectives, like I feel you can learn so much. Like I've actually really had a good time at my job. I learned how to negotiate. I learned how to work with others, work cross functionally, work towards a deadline, think product. So like I think a job, you can learn so much from it. And I think the only time you should step away from your job is when you stop learning from it too. And because like no one can take away your skills. They can take away your title, but no one can take away your skills. And for anyone like who a creator thinking about getting a job, like the people who kind of shame you into like that's like a lesser step are not the people you want in your life. They're not there to support. They're just like really sad failures in life, living in their mom's basement with no money, keyboard warriors. Yeah, they're probably the ones without a profile picture. And just like, anyways, I'm getting too deep because I like rage baited so hard on Threads. Something about the job market too. I can tell you about it. And like most of the hate comments were people exactly like that, like user 12345, just like cowards, pussies.
Yeah. No, I mean, like if you don't have a actual real profile, like profile picture or something like that, I could care less for sure what you say. I think the last thing that I'll add too is I think you were in a better position to succeed as an entrepreneur than I was because you worked a corporate job and you kind of got to understand the inner workings of what it takes to build a really big company, right? Obviously, like Design Buddies is not at the scale of EA, but like understanding the checks and balances that are there and like how to communicate, how to onboard, things like that. I had never had to go through that. So I had no idea what that experience was. And I think for like, again, myself, like I still want to build something that's big later on in life, right? Which for me, that's part of the reason why I wanted to get a job is to understand how a large company works, right? Whether it's the checks and balances, how different teams are set up, how to communicate at a corporate level, like all these different sort of things I had never experienced because once I graduated college, I went right into declassified stuff. I had some internships here and there, but that an internship is way different than working and getting onboarded into like a real corporate W-2 9 to 5 job. And even just from the past like week and a half, 2 weeks, I've taken so many notes, both mental and like on like Google Docs or whatever, of how certain procedures are sort of working to make that experience super, super smooth as possible. So all that to say is I used to have a really negative connotation towards getting a job. What I will say about it is you have to understand why you're getting a job. And I think if you do know why you're getting a job and that job is there to serve whatever specific purpose it is, yes, ideally you enjoy your job and thankfully like my team is amazing and I'm really looking forward to like trying to scale this company on social, but like know what that job is there for, understand your expectations from that, and then take the learnings because those learnings will be what's important that you leave, whether that's for another job in the future, to start your own thing, to create content, like whatever that is. Figure out what you want to get out of the job. You should find a way to get more out of the job than the job is getting out of you.
Yeah, I agree. What are some of your key takeaways as you land your first job, you have a senior role? What did you learn in the first week and a half?
First week and a half is like, it is so different being an entrepreneur. Like again, I'm very more like solopreneur. I do like we had a decent sized team, but everyone was like contractors, right? Like not necessarily employees. And so the difference of me being like for declassified, all right, Justin, this is a cool concept. Let's just go out and shoot it. Versus now it's like, oh, Justin sees a cool concept. Let's go see if social team approves of it. Let's go see if my manager approves of it. They do. Okay, then let's go shoot. Right. So it's less self-sufficient, so to say, and more on relying. And while, yes, that might be slower, it allows a lot more checks and balances than, and I see why that can be successful if executed correctly versus how mine not having a like rigid sort of system allows things to fall into the cracks. And I think that happened a ton at Declassified, whether it be like ideas that just never got made at all, that were never tracked, or anything like that, versus what we've got over at the company that I'm working at now. It's like, oh, we're running this campaign right now. We sent it over to the like analytics team. They created this whole dashboard, and this dashboard is like beautiful because right now we're doing like activation around like giving students free ice creams and like signups and posts that they're doing on the feed and stuff like that. And this dashboard tracks everything. And I'm like, wow, this would have been great for like any campaign that I was running for Declassified. And like now I know what internal sort of standards are at like within a company. I'm like, oh, for all of my friends who want to do summary recaps of like campaigns that they've run with brands, this is what they're competing at. And if they're just throwing something together, even though they might think it looks great, if it doesn't look great compared to what is being produced internally in terms of like campaign recaps and stuff like that, I can see why some of my campaigns didn't get renewed, and like how like some of my other friends' campaigns didn't get renewed, because some people literally just throw together like a spreadsheet and like, okay, here are the numbers, yada yada yada.
That's cool. Yeah. Making sure ideas don't slip through the crack. That's something that I need to implement with my team at Design Buddies too. Because we're really good at just like, at least I'm also really good at throwing ideas on the wall without thinking about like the big picture. I'm just like, we should do that, we should do that.
Yep.
And then yeah, they just get lost.
Well, right, like there's a beauty in being able to move quick and break things, right? Like the whole Facebook model, right? But there's also a beauty to consistency as well. And like I think that's what I'm learning too with like working in a bigger team. I think overall the marketing team is probably, I don't know, 15 to 30 people or so, and like that includes designers and stuff like that. And so, it's just been really cool to see all the checks and balances. Yes, it definitely does slow things down here and there, but I think that can be looked at as a good thing, whereas most people might view that as a bad thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to hear more about your new job and see what you learn from that. Because I feel like I don't know. I only had one job. I was like a mid-level designer. I've only worked in design, but if I were offered like a 10-hour a week marketing job, I might just take it on just to learn too. Are you still doing Declassified?
Yeah. So like, I mean, right now specifically, Declassified's kind of on the back burner. Like there are some things that we're posting and stuff like that. But it's more of like an agency model that I'm helping like friends with brand deals and stuff like that. And so I've worked out a really good deal with the company I'm working with that I can still do Declassified stuff, which is great. And like make sure that if you are running your own business, running your creator, as a creator, like the company that you're working with understands and knows that, and like you carve that out in a contract. Make sure it's in the contract, because you can probably get into like some sticky situations where it's like if you don't carve it out in the contract, any content that you make as like a full-time employee might actually be owned by your employer, right? If it's not like carved out specifically. So make sure you got your legal stuff checked out. That's for sure.
Yeah, and written down too.
Yes. So I made sure I had all that stuff. My goal right now is to focus more on the job, but obviously still working on things via Declassified. Like we have this sort of like top secret thing that I've like hinted at a little bit previously, like the private equity stuff that we're working with right now. So they understand everything that I'm working at this at this company that I'm working for, and it's just managing timelines right now. And so, yeah, I'm super excited to see how this last quarter of the year works, take all the learnings, share it with you all, because what I'm also going to be able to do is be on the brand side when it comes to influencer negotiations. Like even right now, I've already got a few influencer pitches that have been sent over to, or like forwarded over to me. And I'm like, oh, so this is how it works internally. Like if a good pitch looks good and like it starts getting sent around to the team and stuff like that. So I'll definitely be able to share a little bit of insights from the like employer side or the brand side, right? When it comes to receiving pitches, why pitches look good, why pitches look bad, and stuff like that.
Wow, I'm so excited to hear more. Like and subscribe, otherwise you will not see us again. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, I guess like for our last topic today, have you heard about Lucy Guo?
I know the name. I think she's like a super rich person, but like what else is she known for?
So, she pops up on my Twitter a lot. I guess, well, actually, I'm actually good friends with her former personal assistant. And so Lucy's she's in the Bay Area too. And I admire her a lot. I like her tweets a lot. She's really upfront. Like one of her tweets, let me read it to you. I'm gonna pull it up. She gives like career advice and it talks about like working at a company. Let me just find it. Aha. Okay. So I'll just share my screen. But basically, like her background is, I think she grew up in the Bay Area. She grew up, she like traded Neopets. Like she made money on like Neopets, and she was always really entrepreneurial. The reason why, like, I think lately there's been a lot of PR about her being like the youngest self-made billionaire, like topping Taylor Swift. And a lot of it came from her equity at Scale AI. And she co-founded Scale AI. She dropped out of college to co-found Scale AI, and Scale AI has other offices in SF, and their other co-founder is Alexander Wang without an E, so his name is literally spelled like a startup. And so I think they had a co-founder breakup, but she still kept 5% equity. Scale AI, they did like they built like data labeling for AI. So they train a lot of AI models using like people from the Philippines to label images to train AI. So they're like the backbone of all the AI stuff. So Scale AI was super successful, is super successful. um, I think Meta tried to hire, they maybe did hire the CEO for like millions and billions of dollars, something like that. I need to check numbers on that. But
They've been
Lucy, so
sending out a ton of like $100 million contracts to people, I think. Well, I think
yeah,
they acquired Scale AI, didn't they? For like 14
Meta?
billion or something. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think so. Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Mark was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna buy you guys or something like
Oh,
that.
no. Meta invests 14 billion in Scale AI to strengthen model training. So I think they're just investing in Scale AI. Um,
Or like
so
they bought
yeah,
like a majority stake or something like that.
yeah, something like that. Something with Meta and Alexander Wang. Oh yeah, so Alexander is now in Scale AI. So he's now working at Meta too. Basically for Lucy, so basically like, after she left, she started getting the VC and she started this new company called Passes, which is like kind of like an OnlyFans, but like no nudity. It's like a PG OnlyFans, and I think she raised like $40 million, and it's looks like it's been doing well. But then earlier this year, there's a bunch of lawsuits for like underage children on Passes. But I was like talking to her team about it because I got to know them in LA, and they're really fun. I really like them. They're really cool, and they told me that like there's a lot of negative press online because like Lucy, she's like the CEO, so she's not um, in the day-to-day work. So I don't think it was her fault at all. But a lot of people on the internet went after her. Um, so it was kind of just like it kind of blew up, but at the same time her PR team worked super hard and making the message that she was the youngest self-made billionaire even louder than the fact that Passes had like two major lawsuits of like underage children. So I thought that was really interesting. And what is interesting is I was invited to a party at her mansion. It's supposed to happen tonight, but I think they're prioritizing Passes creators. So they might let me in, they might not, but that's okay. Yeah, so I don't know. But also, speaking of careers, I want to show you her tweet and let me know what you think about it.
Is she like a big persona on Twitter?
Yeah, so she tweets a lot. I think she hasn't tweeted in a while, but like she tweets out like 40 million Series A. She this was like about the lawsuit. I was told her team doesn't let her tweet anymore. Um
That's
so
hilarious.
yeah, so she talks about like she talks a lot about just like working hard, grinding hard, like working at Barry's. Um yeah, her berries classes and stuff. And this is one of my favorite tweets is like early career tech advice. intern or work 6 to 12 months at a big name company, which can be private. And then join a seed to Series B startup, email VCs asking for the top portfolio companies they have insider knowledge, and repeat 2 times or start your own company. So I feel like she encourages people to get a job first instead of go into starting your own company and asking VCs
Yeah.
about insider information.
So I think this kind of aligns with my perspective, right? Where, again, I feel like you have a little bit of more of an advantage than I do because you worked within a bigger company and it allows you to see how systems are built. And those systems are in place for a specific reason, right? Because something probably broke when they were a smaller company. And for better or for worse, that system is in place. What I'll also say too, which is interesting about this, is I think the reason that she says at a big name company specifically is because you can leverage that clout forever in your life, right? Let's say, I think that there is something to be said about building or working at a big brand. And as long as you are not tied to that brand's crazy downfall, if there is a downfall, you can leverage that forever. So for instance, right, if you are not a part of the WeWork debacle, but you worked at WeWork, right? Like you weren't part of like the executive team or whatever it may be, but you worked at WeWork. Having WeWork on your resume is so much better than, let's say, working at, I used to intern at the Hartford, right? Because having WeWork on your resume, people instantly know the name. It's an interesting story to tell, right? Because the company collapsed, things of that nature, and it automatically gets you an in. So if you ever have to find a job somewhere else, you've got a loud resume point. Another thing too, right? If you build something, I would argue, as long as you're loud with that brand, that is honestly more important than driving revenue or anything like that when it comes to if you ever wanted to find a job later on in life. So for instance, you with Design Buddies, let's just say, God forbid, something happened where Design Buddies completely hit the fan, right? Because you're so loud, I feel like you could leverage being the founder of Design Buddies and get virtually any design job that you wanted because someone in that hiring process probably has touched Design Buddies in some way, shape, or form during the past, how long have you been working on Design Buddies? Like 4 years, 5 years,
5
right?
years.
Yeah. And so like, I think as long as it didn't end in like a crazy scandalous thing, right, around Grace or whatever, you could leverage that and get whatever job you wanted. And I think that's why she has big company there. Because how many times have you seen someone work at Google and it's like, oh my God, you must be one of the smartest people in the world just because you have Google on your resume. The same way that Harvard gives you clout, the same way that Princeton gives you clout, just having a big name, I think is so important because you can leverage that for the rest of your life.
I agree. And people judge a book by its first cover. They see big name, they think you're sexy, or they think that you are really smart and like really prestigious and stuff. It shouldn't be that way, but it is what it is. It's a game.
Human psychology, right? Like it is what it is. And like I would say that's your badge of honor. That's the time that you work to get your badge of honor. And 6 to 12 months at a big name company, Google, Facebook, Airbnb, OpenAI, whatever it is, right, is so much more valuable, not even from an educational standpoint. That's what people will say. Like, you learn so much working at this fast growing company. I would say just from a resume cloud standpoint, that is much more important. And if you cannot like leverage that, or if you don't know how to leverage that on your resume, that's on you, because you can leverage that so well when it comes to the hiring process or anything like that, if you know how to.
Yeah, clout matters. Yeah, the second part is after you work 6 to 12 months, like join a Series C to Series B startups and then asking VCs about their top portfolio companies. So you get like equity, you build your skills. So usually your top company are like Fortune 500 companies. They're probably pretty big, pretty established, pretty famous, but pretty boring because they move slow, but like working in a startup, especially like a VC funded startup, you'll be able to wear many hats and learn a lot from other people too and grow your skills that way.
I
But
think this advice,
your tech company will get you in. Like the top big name company could get you easily in.
I think this advice applies to any industry, in my opinion. Again, she makes it seem like it's super easy, right? Like it's not easy to get a job at a big company or anything like that. You have to be strategic. But I would say too, if you're trying to become a creator, it's the same formula. If you can find a job at Mr. Beast, at Airrack, at The Sidemen, at AMP, name whatever big creator out there, right? Having that clout on your resume, you would be so surprised at how these editors get passed around from these big creators. Like once you get one in, your name gets flooded to all these other creators because there's not that much supply of quote unquote good content or good talent. And so if you can solidify yourself as a piece of good talent, like I know of a guy who had like very little resume experience. He got an in with a friend to get referred onto Mr. Beast's team when Mr. Beast was at like maybe 5 million, 10 million subscribers. So very early on, which is crazy to say how big that number is, right? He grew that TikTok from, I think, 1 million to whatever it was at like last year. So like 70 million, 100 million or something stupid like that. He could get a job at any creator company that he wanted to now. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's coming from zero resume experience. But because he landed that gig at Mr. Beast, he could go wherever he wants to. I think he has like his own consulting thing now, and his clients are all huge creators, right? So he's leveraging that the Mr. Beast clout. But man, that advice I think is solid no matter where you go. Mm-hmm. Now, again, that's not saying it's easy, but it is top tier advice, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I just like never worked at a VC SPAC startup. But I think because like I feel like if you work at a startup, especially they're like early stage but have funding, then you'll also be able to ride the wave and learn a lot from that.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. We'll see. The more I feel like this was not a very creator episode, but kind of like creator adjacent episode. But let us know what you think.
We have W2 creators in our chat and our audience too.
Yes, yeah. I think the funny thing for me to figure out the balance is like, what do I create on my own versus what do I create for the company, right? So we'll see how it all goes. I was just recording an ad for them earlier today, so you might see my face pop up on an ad one day. But really? Yeah. Until next time, guys. Appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
Peace.